Yes.
I told her, I said, the proof is in the pudding. Let's go get the DNA.
So this is the DNA test, and it says the probability of relatedness is 96.7%.
That's my granddaughter, if she's nothing else. She's my.
For years, there have been whispers about Janet Jackson's brief marriage to James DeBarge in the 80s, with rumors swirling that the pop star may have had a secret child during that time, a child that she allegedly had to give up.
Do you have a secret sister?
I believe I do have a sister out there.
Did you ever see Janet where you thought she was pregnant?
Yes. When the marriage was annulled, that Janet was pregnant. And James believed that as well.
Now, the heat is turning up again, with some even wondering if long-buried family secrets are finally coming to light. Could it be that Janet was pressured to give up a child at the height of her career, when everything seemed to be going perfectly?
It's true, you'll find out when she's ready for you.
And now, with James DeBarge speaking out again, he's rekindling the story, claiming the child really existed and he was the father. Looking back to the 80s, Janet's love life was anything but straightforward. Before marrying James, she briefly dated NBA legend Magic Johnson. In 1983, Janet was photographed with Magic at the American Music Awards, where the pair were seen getting cozy. In one photo, Magic had his arms wrapped around Janet, and in another, the two were locking lips. The issue: Janet was only 16 at the time, and Magic was 24. When those photos resurfaced in 2020, it sparked a lot of questions about what Janet had gone through during her teenage years. I mean, if a 24-year-old was kissing her in public when she was just 16, imagine what could have been happening behind closed doors. But then came James DeBarge. Janet and James eloped in 1984 when she was just 18 years old, which was incredibly young. It was said that Janet saw marriage as her way out of her father Joe Jackson's tight grip on her life. Joe was known for being controlling, so Janet thought marriage might give her some freedom. However, Joe wasn't thrilled about the marriage and did everything he could to prevent it. Despite his efforts, Janet and James still tied the knot, though things quickly went downhill. James struggled with substance abuse, and Janet found herself in the difficult role of caretaker, constantly picking him up or going out to find him. It's said that she would even find pills around the house, and she'd try to flush them down the toilet, only for James to scramble to get them back. And mind you, Janet was just 18 at the time, already dealing with drama that most people would never experience. But the drama didn't stop there. There were rumors that Janet had been pregnant while married to James, and that she either lost the baby or was forced to give it up. If you ask Janet, she'll deny it and claim there was never any baby. But here's where things get interesting. People who were close to Janet and James at the time remember seeing her looking several months pregnant. In fact, some fans even claim that when Janet and her brothers presented an award at the American Music Awards, Janet's belly was clearly visible, and Tito Jackson tried to shield her stomach with his jacket. One person even says that Janet's aunt, who worked at a convalescent hospital in the 80s, saw Janet pregnant at the time and wasn't sure if she lost the baby or was hiding it, but she's certain Janet was expecting. Then there's James DeBarge, who has been adamant about the existence of a child with Janet. In a 2012 prison letter, James first made the claim, stating that he believed he and Janet had a child together. And since then, he's continued to insist that the baby was real, even though Janet has firmly denied it. In her 2021 documentary, Janet responded to the speculation, saying there was no way she could have hidden a child from her father, especially considering how controlling Joe Jackson was.
We're saying that I had a child and I kept it secret. How could I keep a child from their father? I could never do that. That's not right.
She explained that the rumors started when people noticed her gaining weight on the set of the TV show Fame in 1984, which she attributed to taking oral contraceptives that caused fluid retention. This, she says, led to people mistakenly believing she was pregnant. Janet also spoke about how the rumors snowballed, with different versions circulating over the years, including one that claimed she secretly gave her child to one of her siblings to raise. There were also wild rumors that Janet's niece, Brandy, who was adopted by Janet's brother Jackie in 1982, or even Randy's daughter, Steven, was Janet's secret child because they resembled her so much.
First they were saying my niece Brandy was my daughter, and then I gave it to Jackie to raise. And then, because Randy's daughter looks so much like me, then they started saying it was Savannah.
Now, this long-standing speculation is heating up once again. Could it be that Janet is finally being forced to confront these hidden family secrets? Was she really pressured to give up a baby at the peak of her career? And is James DeBarge continuing to stand by his claim that he fathered a child with her? One thing is clear. In the 80s, Janet had some of the strangest, most controversial relationships, and they often seemed to spiral out of control. Before she married James DeBarge in 1984, Janet's previous romance was with NBA star Magic Johnson. In 1983, Janet and Magic were photographed together at the American Music Awards in Los Angeles, and let's just say the photos weren't exactly subtle. Magic, who was 24 at the time, had his arms around Janet, who was only 16, and in another photo, they were seen kissing. When those pictures resurfaced in 2020, they sparked serious discussions about what Janet might have gone through as a teenager. A 24-year-old man publicly kissing a 16-year-old girl raised eyebrows, to say the least. What could have been happening behind the scenes? It's clear this was a time of intense and possibly inappropriate situations for young Janet, but things were only about to get more complicated. Soon after her relationship with Magic Johnson fizzled out, Janet started dating James DeBarge, and at just 18 years old, she eloped with him. Janet's decision to marry James was seen as an escape from her controlling father, Joe Jackson, who was known for his strict and manipulative ways. Unsurprisingly, Joe was not pleased with the marriage and did everything in his power to try to stop it. However, despite his efforts, Janet went through with it. But things quickly turned sour. James had a history of substance abuse, and Janet found herself in a toxic and dysfunctional marriage. She often played the role of caretaker, being called to pick him up from places or to track him down when he went missing. Janet has described how she would find pills in the house, and in an effort to protect him from his addiction, she'd try to flush them down the toilet, only to have him chase after them, fighting for them on the floor. Keep in mind, all of this was happening when she was just 18, an age that should have been full of joy and freedom, but instead, Janet was left to deal with chaos and heartbreak. Yet, amidst all this drama, rumors started to swirl that Janet had a child with James. Some believed she either lost the baby or gave it away. According to Janet, she's always denied having a child during that time, and she's adamant that those rumors are completely false. But here's where things get even more suspicious. Those who were close to the situation and were fans of the DeBarge family at the time say they remember seeing photos of Janet that appeared to show her as much as 5 or 6 months pregnant. However, no official announcement was ever made about her pregnancy, and no baby ever appeared. In one notable moment, when Janet and her brothers were presenting at the American Music Awards, Janet was on stage with a noticeable bump. In an attempt to hide her belly, her brother Tito allegedly draped his jacket over his arm to shield it from the cameras, but the bump was still visible. Another person even claimed that Janet's aunt, who worked at the convalescent hospital where the Jacksons' grandmother lived, said she saw Janet when she was pregnant. The aunt wasn't sure if Janet lost the baby or was hiding it, but she was convinced Janet was pregnant at the time. James DeBarge himself has never backed down from the claim that they had a child together. In 2012, James wrote an explosive letter from prison to Dr. Conrad Murray, Michael Jackson's former doctor, stating that he and Janet had a child. Since then, he has consistently spoken out about the possibility of a Jackson-DeBarge heir. Despite Janet's denials, James is still holding onto the belief that their child exists, and he's never given up on finding out the truth. But what about Janet's side of the story? In her 2011 documentary, she vehemently denied the existence of a secret child, saying it would have been impossible for her to hide a baby from her father, Joe Jackson. Janet explained that the rumors about her pregnancy first surfaced when she was filming Fame in 1984, which was around the time she started taking oral contraceptives. At the time, birth control pills were known to cause weight gain and fluid retention due to high estrogen and progestin levels, which led some to think she was pregnant. Janet claims the rumors snowballed, and she was even accused of giving the supposed baby to one of her siblings to raise as their own. In the documentary, Janet also addressed another rumor that suggested her brother Jackie's adopted daughter, Brandy, was actually her child. There was also speculation at one point that Janet's niece, Steven, resembled her too much, causing some to believe she was Janet's child as well. Janet tried to shut down the rumors, but they continued to haunt her throughout her career. But here's where it gets even more interesting. James DeBarge's own daughter, Christina, has added fuel to the fire by confessing that she believes she has a secret sister out there.
He feels betrayed. I'm sure he feels sad. I'm sure he feels disappointed. I'm sure he feels like he was robbed of that relationship with his daughter. But at the same time, I know my dad loves Janet till this day, and he doesn't.
Now, why would Christina believe this unless she knew something for sure? It's one thing to speculate, but Christina's confident belief hints that there might be more to this story than we're being told. She even went on record saying she would love to meet the sister she believes exists, and hinted that the Jackson family's powerful influence might have played a role in hiding the truth. She suggested that Janet's career might have been the reason the alleged child was kept under wraps. Yeah.
I know that her family had a huge influence on her, and if she was pregnant, the only thing that I can think of was that they felt that she still had a very long career ahead of her, and they didn't want anything to hinder.
James' sister, Bunny, also gave her own account, claiming she saw Janet's pregnancy firsthand. According to Bunny, Janet was removed from the public eye for a while, and when she returned, her pregnancy bump was mysteriously gone, but no baby was ever seen. It's becoming harder to ignore the mounting evidence and stories from people who were close to Janet during this time. Even James' brother, Darren, did a radio interview where he backed up the claim that the child existed, and James' mother also believed the rumors and even participated in a DNA test with a woman named Tiffany White, who claimed to be Janet and James' secret daughter. However, the test proved that James wasn't Tiffany's father. Still, James didn't give up on his search and continues to assert that there is a child out there somewhere. Some people also believe that Janet had a miscarriage or a stillbirth, but she has never publicly discussed it, which is understandable given how painful it would be to revisit such a traumatic event. However, the questions surrounding her secret baby still linger. Could it be that Janet had a child and was forced to give it up to protect her image? Was there a cover-up orchestrated by the Jackson family to keep Janet's career on track? Or is it possible that the DeBarge family members are all just fabricating this whole story? The rumors, the claims, the DNA tests, it's all just too much to ignore. What do you think? Do you believe Janet had a child and is keeping it a secret, or is this just an elaborate family myth? The mystery deepens, and we may never know the full truth. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let's talk about this wild story.